Great day, great day, great day. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to give you guys a chance to come in. While you're coming in, I'm going to let a little Pastor Mike Jr. play just to set the atmosphere. I'm free. I'm free. I'm healed. I'm healed. Delivered. Delivered. I let it go. I let it go. Say all things. All things are behind me. Are behind me. I'm free. Yeah. I'm free. Yeah. I let it go. I let it go. I let it go. I let it go. Everything that tried to break me down, I let it go. Weight of my mistakes, I let it go. I let it go. The pain of my past, I let it go. I let it go. I let it go. I let it go. I'm free. I'm free. I'm healed. I'm healed. Delivered. Delivered. I let it go. I let it go. All things are behind me. Are behind me. I'm free. Yeah. I'm free. Yeah. I let it go. I let it Come on, go. Sing it. I let it go. I let it go. All my chains are broken. I let it go. I let it go. I am much better. I am much better now that I'm free. I let it go. Now my past no longer holds me. Yeah. I let it go. I let it go. I let it go. I'll never be the same again. Yes, God. Now that my past is over, all things have passed away, and I'll never be the same. If you're tired of cycles, you need to declare, I'll never be the same again. Now that my past is over, all things have passed away. I'll never be the same. I've been set free. Come on, say it. I'll never be the same again. Now that my past is over, all things have passed away. I'll never be the same. I'm free. Come on, say it without your mind. I let it go. I let it go. I let it go. All of my pain. I let it go. The hurt that tried to break me. I let it go. Hope that was out on me. I let it go. The guilt of my past. I let it go. I'll never be the same. Hey, 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 everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm super excited that you guys are here. Listen, I know we got started a little late, but I want you to bear with me because let me tell you something. As we're springing forward, God is doing some supernatural things. And in the midst of the supernatural, there will always be challenges. I'm just telling you, that's the way it works. But we're here. And I'm so glad that you guys made a decision to tune in to Passionate Pursuit of Manifested Purposes Ministries service on this morning. Y'all, let me tell y'all something. There is a word from the Lord on today. The question is, who's talking to you? Who's talking to you? I want you to go in your Bibles to 1 Samuel chapter 3. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're excited to have you guys here. Super excited to have you here. I am Dr. Veronica Walters, also known as Dr. V. I am the pastor of Passionate Pursuit of Manifested Purpose Ministries, and we are moving forward, springing forward, I guess you could say. All right, all right. So let's talk about this thing. You know, I often get asked, Dr. V, how is it that you hear from God? How do you hear from God? And one of the things that I understand is that we hear voices, right? We hear voices and we have to determine what voice is God and what voice is a foreign voice, a strange voice, right? The word of God says that Jesus said that my sheep hear my voice, right? They recognize it. They know it. They respond to it. I want to help you today understand how to identify who's talking to you. So we're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 3. 1 Samuel chapter 3. I'm not going to keep you guys long, but I'm going to go ahead and dig into this. We're going to talk about it and we're going to move forward. 1 Samuel chapter 3, and I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation. I'm not going to post it, you guys. Y'all have to look it up yourself, right? It'll be too much. I'm trying to do too much right now. It says, meanwhile, the boy Samuel served the Lord by assisting Eli. Now, in those days, messages from the Lord were very rare and visions were quite uncommon. One night, Eli, who was almost blind by now, had gone to bed. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was sleeping in the tabernacle near the ark of God. Suddenly, the Lord called out, Samuel. Yes, Samuel replied. What is it? He got up and he ran to Eli. Here I am. Did you call me? I didn't call you, Eli replied. Go back to bed. So he did. Then the Lord called out again, Samuel. Again, Samuel got up and went to Eli. Here I am. Did you call me? I didn't call you, my son, Eli said. Go back to bed. Samuel did not yet know the Lord because he had never had a message from the Lord before. So the Lord called a third time, and once more Samuel got up and went to Eli. Here I am. Did you call me? Then Eli realized it was the Lord who was calling the boy. So he said to Samuel, go and lie down again. And if someone calls again, say, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. So Samuel went back to bed. And the Lord came and called as before, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel replied, speak, your servant is listening. Then the Lord said to Samuel, I am about to do a shocking thing in Israel. I'm going to carry out all my threats against Eli and his family from beginning to end. I have warned him that judgment is coming upon his family forever because his sons are blaspheming God and he hasn't disciplined them. So I have vowed that the sins of Eli and his sons will never be forgiven by sacrifice or offering. Samuel stayed in bed until morning, then got up and opened the doors of the tabernacle as usual. He was afraid to tell Eli what the Lord had said to him, but Eli called out to him, Samuel, my son. Here I am, Samuel replied. What did the Lord say to you? Tell me everything, and may God strike you and even kill you if you hide anything from me. So Samuel told Eli everything. He didn't hold back anything. It is the Lord's will, Eli replied. Let him do what he thinks best. As Samuel grew up, the Lord was with him, and everything Samuel said proved to be reliable. And all Israel from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south knew that Samuel was confirmed as a prophet of the Lord. The Lord continued to appear at Shiloh and gave messages to Samuel there at the tabernacle, and Samuel's words went out to all the people of Israel. So let's talk about who's talking to you. How do you distinguish the voice of God from the voice of the enemy? How do you know what's God and what's not? How do you make that determination? How do you know when God is talking to you? Well, listen, I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. But listen, y'all, I'm going to keep it real clear and real plain. Let me tell y'all something. I just know from my personal experience, much like the experience of Samuel, I know it's the voice of God because I promise you, he's always telling me to do something I do not want to do. So this is one of the ways that I know that God is talking. Let me put this right here. My God, my God. When I tell you that God is not playing with us, he's not playing. He's not playing. Hold on. Man. He tells you something you do not want to do or hear. So as God is speaking, you'll know that it's God because he's going to tell you something that you do not want to do or hear, right? You don't want to hear that. You don't want to do that. You all, when I tell y'all that me and God have these whole conversations, arguments, like I'm for real about that thing because he's always telling me something I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to do that. Do what? No, God, I'm good. I just want to live my life. That's all I want to do is I just want to live my life. Well, listen, God wants you to live your life too, but he wants you to live your best life. How do you live your best life? By being in alignment with his will for your life, by doing what it is that he wants you to do and what he needs you to do, by hearing his voice so that you know that you know that you know. See, this is the thing that happens a lot of times when you deal with prophets, right? Some people just have itching ears. They always want a prophetic word. But baby, when you learn how to hear God for yourself, the prophet simply comes to confirm that which God has already told you. So when you're hearing God for yourself and the prophet speaks something, it's not going to be a new thing. It's going to be something you've already heard from God. And chances are it's going to be something you don't want to hear. It's going to be something you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it. You don't want that. That's not what you want to do. Literally, every time God tells me to do something, it is not what I want to do. It is counter to what I want to do. Usually it's the opposite of what I want to do. Start the church. I don't want to do that. God, you tripping. You tripping. I don't want to do that. Oh, but you're going to do. I'm not doing that. This me and God. I'm not doing that. He's like, oh, you gonna do it. I'm like, I'm not doing it. He's like, oh, no, you gonna do it. And what happens? I end up doing it. So why the debate? Why the argument? Y'all listen, I can't speak for you. I can only speak for me. Some of the things that God asked me to do are so challenging and outside of what I want that I just am like, can we just not? Can we just not? Now, I don't feel bad because I'm not alone and you're not alone. In fact, when Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane, right? Before he went to the cross, he went to the garden. And in the garden, he had a conversation with his daddy. He was, is there another way? Is there another way to do this? Can you do this another way? Silence. He went back. How? Can we? Is there another way to accomplish the goal? Can you just do it another way? Silence. He goes back and he says, not my will, but your will be done. I don't want to do it, but let your will be done. And when he came out of the garden that third time, when he came out with the resolve that he was going to do what his daddy had for him to do. And that's exactly what he did. He did it with boldness. He did it with tenacity. He did it with determination. He did it with courage. But he did it. Too many times when God tells you to do something that you don't want to do, or he tells you something that you don't want to hear, we want to act like that's the devil. That don't be the devil. What be the devil is that thing that you want to do. That you just want to do. Oh, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, do that. Go ahead. Now, I'm not saying that there won't be things that you want to do that God won't tell you yay on and go ahead and do it.
But the majority of the time, God is going to tell you something you don't want to hear and have you do something that you don't want to do. Why? Because then your flesh is not ruling and leading, right? Then you know, this is how you know that this got to be God. There's absolutely no way on earth, in heaven, or in hell that you would choose that path. No way. No way you would choose it voluntarily. No way. That's a good indication that you hear it from God. Okay? The next thing that happens, and I want y'all to just stay with me on this journey. Stay with me on this journey, okay? So the next thing is, okay, he tells you to do something that you don't want to do, or tells you something that you don't want to hear because you ain't trying to have no parts of it. This is the next thing. He talks to you in your language. Listen. Now, how God talks to me may not be how God talks to you. He talks to you in your language. He talks to you the way you will hear it, the way you will receive it. Now, God and I have different kinds of conversations. And he said stuff to me that if I told y'all what God said exactly word for word, y'all would be like, oh my God, that's not God, when I know it's him. And I know it's him because he knows how to talk to me. He knows what's going to, get me. He knows what's going to put me in check. He knows how to check me and checkmate me. That's what he knows how to do. And he does it in language that I recognize as him, right? So he talks to you in your language. So however you talk, like he's going to listen. He's going to respond back. I be sassy. So since I'm sassy, he gets sassy right back. Oh, you going to do it, and you going to do it because I said do it. And you're going to do it now. Like, I'm not doing it. Oh, you going to do it. Oh, you going to do it. I ain't even worried about it. You going to do it. He uses words that I use. Like, did you just say that? I sure did, because that's what you would have said in your head. That's what you would have said. I was like, oh, you know me. You know me. Yes, Cassandra. He speaks to me like a real friend. And if you notice, listen, when you're around people for an extended period of time, you begin to pick up their language and their mannerisms, right? You can always tell people who've been around Dr. V, right? Because there's certain things they'll say. They're like, oh, they've been around Dr. V, right? That's a Dr. V-ism. If people have been around me, you can tell them, because they'll be like, listen. They're going to listen. That's what they're going to say, listen. And they're going to say some things the way I say it. Is it because they're trying to be me? No, not at all. But it's because our relationship has put them in communion with me so much that certain things just naturally pick up. Just naturally. It's just a natural thing. If you've ever watched Larry Reid live, and I used to watch Larry Reid all the time, listen, he would have words that moved over into my vocabulary, because I said, oh, I like that word right there. And I would use it. You know who's watched Larry Reid live, who watches Larry Reid live, something by their language. They'll say a word and be like, oh, they watch Larry Reid. Yeah, they watch Larry Reid live. They sure do, right? You will be able to tell it, right? So he talks to you in your language. Talks to you in your language. You're not going to be a Spanish speaker and he talk to you in English. He going to talk to you in Spanish. However you talk, he's going to talk, because he wants you to understand him. He wants you to hear him. He wants you to get it. See, he's not trying to use, listen, if you don't talk like thee, thou, these, this, these and thous, thee, oh, thee, God, most gracious. If you don't talk like that, he's not going to talk to you like that. If you talk like that, he'll talk to you like that. I've got a friend that he's very intellectual. Okay, so I know his conversations with God and my conversations with God are very different, right? God probably talks to him using a bunch of big words. God doesn't talk to me like that, because I would be like, really? Really, God? No, right? But he talks like that. And because he talks like that, God talks to him like that. I need to ask him that question. I bet it's the truth, right? Think about it. I want you to think about how God talks to you. What are those unique nuances of your communication that shows up in God's communication with you? You'll hear it and you'll recognize it. He talks to you in your language. So one, he's going to tell you things and tell you to do things and tell you things that you don't want to hear. Second, he talks to you in your language, but that's not all, right? These are some indications, right, of who's talking to you. These are some indications of who's talking to you. So not only those two, but hold on. This one is a good one. So this is the next thing. He knows the hidden things of your heart, and he'll speak to you of them. He knows the hidden things of your heart, and he will speak to you of them, right? Those hidden things, those things that you don't tell anybody, that you may not have ever said out loud, but he'll say them. And he'll say them to you, and you'll be like, ooh. And then he'll reveal it through someone who does not know you, who has no way of knowing that hidden thing. Okay? So he knows the hidden things of your heart, and he will confirm that it's him by using the hidden things, not the things that everybody knows. See, this is why when people give prophetic words, if all they're telling you is stuff that everybody knows, suspect. Suspect. God will always give a true prophet something that is specific to you, that nobody else would know, that that person would have no way of knowing, so that you will know that it is him speaking. He knows the hidden things of your heart. I'm telling you, it amazes me because God will give me a song as it relates to someone. He'll give me a song and I'll say, I'm hearing this song, right? And I'll be like, what does this song mean to you? And they'll be like, oh my God, that's my song. Oh my God, I just listened to that this morning. It'll be something that I would have had no way of knowing, right? And it's in order to let them know that it is him speaking, right? See, many people call themselves prophet. Many people call themselves prophet. But not everyone who calls himself a prophet is a prophet of God. Many people call themselves prophet, but not everyone that calls himself a prophet is a prophet of God. Okay? And not all prophets are created equal. I'm going to say it again. Not all prophets are created equal. Different prophets have different anointings, right? So prophets are anointed to do different things, to operate in different ways in different realms. Okay. And so one of the things that I had to understand was that, like how he moves in me, how he uses me. Some people may hear something from God concerning a person after they pray about it. That's not me. I hear it. I hear conversations. I hear like all kinds of stuff. And it's just a knowing. It's not actually hearing the voice of God, but it is a knowing. It is a knowing. I hear it like in my head, know it. And I remember questioning it. Because I was like, God, I don't know if this is you. So this is how I know that he knows the hidden things of your heart, the things that you haven't told anyone. I remember I was at a training. It's an educational thing for the university in Boston, Massachusetts, right? I was there for, I can't remember how long. I think it was a 2-week program that I was at. And while I was there, God said, tell this person that. I was like, I did not know I was a prophet. I didn't know any of that. All I know was I heard this voice tell me to tell somebody something that there's no way that I would have any way of knowing. And I was like, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that. Right. And God said, tell them. And so I said what he said to say. And every single person that he did that with me, did that to while I was there, broke down in tears. You got me saying stuff that got people crying? Woo, no. I'm so good on this. When it happened the first time, I said, oh, this is a fluke. When it happened the second time, I was like, oh my God, what is going on? When it happened the third time, I was like, oh, what is this? Because I didn't know. And all my life I'd been a prophet and I didn't know it. right? I didn't have anyone to explain it to me. I didn't have anyone to educate me on it. I thought I was just crazy. I thought I was just hearing stuff. I didn't know that was God talking to me. No one explained that to me. So if you're someone and you find yourself hearing things or seeing things, dreaming things, and they come to pass, chances are you're a prophet. Now, the challenge becomes connecting with someone who can help you develop that ability, because it is an ability, right? And like everything, abilities are gifts and talents that come without repentance. You got it. Once you got it, you got it. It doesn't just go away, right? It's there. It's what you do with it and how you develop it that determines how you're able to move forward. But what I'm going to tell you is this, that in this season of your life, if you are a prophet of the Most High, it is time to assume your office. God is calling the prophets to rise up. God is calling the prophets, the true prophets of the Most High, to stand up, to speak up, right? To say what he is saying to say unapologetically. And listen, you know that I'm talking to you because I've probably said something during this little segment that you said in your mind or God has said to you, and it's resonating with your spirit. And if that is you, then I encourage you to reach out. We're going to be launching our prophetic school, our school of the prophetic, so that people can get training in this, because you need to be trained so that you don't have to make the mistakes that I made and other prophets have made along the way, because you make mistakes, right? Because you don't know. The gift is powerful and you don't know how to use it. You don't know when to speak and when to shut up. You don't know when it's something for you to pray about and when it's for something for you to say. You may say it to someone, but you may say it at the wrong time, right? So he may tell you to say it, but you say it in an off time, right? Or you may say it publicly when he needed you to say it privately. Or you may say it privately when he meant for you to say it publicly. Now, there's a time for both, and you've got to know the difference, right? So he knows the hidden things of your heart, and so he will speak those, right, through someone you do not know, so that you will know that that's his voice, that they are being the voice of God in your life in that moment, okay? So let's look at it. He tells you something that you do not want to do or hear. He talks to you in your language. He knows the hidden things of your heart. That's not all, y'all. Hold on. My God. My God. Last but not least, he calls you by name. You see, Samuel kept hearing his name called, and he automatically assumed that it was Eli, because of course, who else would it be? It was just him and Eli in the tabernacle. So who else would be talking to him, right? Because God wasn't talking to people like that. God wasn't talking to people like that during that time. But he calls you by name. He calls your name. He calls your name. Now, God doesn't call me Dr. V. That's not what he calls me. When he calls me, he says, Veronica. If he's really upset, guess what he says? Veronica Joe. Okay? Much like your parents, God will call you, and you'll know that you're in trouble when he calls you by your first and middle or your first, middle, last name. You'll be like, huh? That's when you know you're in trouble. But when he calls you by your first name, he's calling you to get your attention. He's going to call you by name. He knows you. He knows you by name, and he will call you by name. Whatever that is, that's what he'll call you. Cassandra said he calls me Sandra. Listen, what does God call you? What does God call you? When God speaks to you, what does he call you? What is the name that he calls you by? I want you to put it in the comments. What is the name that God calls you when he's talking to you? Put it in the comments. Drop it in the comments. What name does God call you by? Let me know what he calls you. Because it may be a nickname. I'm telling you. But whatever it is, it's the name that he consistently calls you by. What is that for you? What is that name for you? Corey said, daughter. Artesia said, my child. Okay. What does he call you? What does God call you? Stacy says, my child. Okay. All right. What does God call you? What does he call you? See, it's important for you to be able to identify what God calls you, because that's what he's going to say to you. Leady. That's a leader. Okay. Okay. Jacqueline. Okay. All right. All right. He's going to call you by name. Y'all, let me tell y'all something. Y'all better, hold on. Y'all better stop letting these church folks tell you God ain't talked to you. God ain't told you something. Stop it. Miss Carolyn said he calls me Carolyn. Listen, stop letting other people tell you that God is not talking to you or God didn't say that to you. Stop it. See, I don't know why people think that they can just tell you what God said to you. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say God didn't talk to you. It may not resonate with my spirit, but it doesn't have to resonate with my spirit. It may be that I'm not supposed to know it. It may be it's not for me to confirm. Doesn't mean that God's not talking to you. See, you all give other people way too much credit in your life. Way too much control. Why? We are all children of the Most High. We all belong to him. Just because he doesn't speak to you the way he speaks to them doesn't mean he wasn't speaking. Just because it's something that they didn't want to hear didn't mean it wasn't God. I'll tell you something about Eli. Eli knew that was a word from God, because God had already told him, listen, I'm about to do some stuff in your family because your kids is out of control. They're out of control. They out here blaspheming against me, having sex with these women in the temple. Oh no, it's this is unacceptable. Unacceptable. And Eli knew he didn't deal with it. He knew he didn't. So when Samuel said what God said, even though he didn't like it, oh my God, here comes another one. Here comes another one. Woo! Woo! God speaks truth to power. God speaks truth to power. Now, see, this is the thing. This is the thing. A lot of times when God tells us to say something to someone in power or authority, in position, we don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. I'm like, I'm not doing that. They're not going to hear me. I'm not doing that. Who am I to say that to them? They're an apostle, pastor, preacher, teacher, evangelist, whatever, right? Like I'm not, they're government official. They're like, I'm not going to do it. They're a top leader in an organization or a company. I'm not going to do it. They're this, they're that. Listen, I don't care who it is. If God tells you to tell someone something, you tell them. Now you first of all check and you make sure it's God, right? But if it's God, say it. Say it. So one of the things that I do when I know people have a prophetic anointing on their life, one of the first things that I do is I have them give me a word. What is God saying to you right now about me, concerning me? See, that allows me to be able to challenge them to step up, one, right? And it also gives me an opportunity to evaluate that word. Not because I am the determiner, but what happens is When God speaks through them and they say what God says, say, and I confirm that word, they have a different level of confidence. They have a different level of confidence, right? When you give a word to someone in a position of authority and power and they confirm it, it gives you a different level of confidence. But this is the thing. It can't be determined by that because they may not be willing to tell you that you're right. They may not be willing to accept that word. See, that's not on you. That's on them. That's on them. And they'll have to deal with that. But what's on you is that you did what God said. I can remember a time that I had to say something to a pastor and he looked at me like I was crazy the whole time I was talking. He gave me names, like he told me exactly what to say and I said it and he looked at me like I was crazy. He just like, later I found out, and I didn't know these names. These were just names that God gave me. Later I found out the connection between the names. I was like, okay, that's why God had me say that. Did I go back to that pastor and say, well, I found out da-da-da-da-da? No, because that wasn't for me. It was for him. It wasn't for me. It was for him. It didn't matter if he confirmed it to me or not. He knew that was God. Whether he let on that he knew it was God or not, didn't matter. Irrelevant. I did what God told me to do, and he heard the voice of God, and he knew it was God. You don't have to take ownership for it beyond that. God has positioned us so that we all can hear his voice. He's positioned us so that we all can hear his voice, not just the prophets. Every single one of us have a right and the authority to hear the voice of God. Why? We are his children. We're his children. He resides in us. So when people say, oh, you're just talking to yourself, you were just talking to yourself. Listen, when I talk to myself, let me tell y'all what I'm not getting ready to talk to myself about. Stuff I don't want to do. I'm not going to tell myself to do something I don't want to do. I'm not going to say something to myself that I don't want to hear. I am not doing that. See, we've got to understand that what God does is very deliberate. So if I know that it's something that I don't want to do or something I don't want to hear, that's God. If he says it in my language, like I recognize his voice because he talks to me in my language. If he says something that's a hidden thing in my heart, I know that that's him. And listen, don't think that everything has to be a voice. It can be in a movie, a TV show, a song. It can be on a billboard. It can be something that you pass, but you'll know that that's God talking to you. I can remember clearly when my ex and I, when we, like I literally was leaving him and I was moving and I went to the city for an interview, and in the city I kept seeing signs, and the signs basically let me know that he was moving too, that he had to come with me. That was not something I wanted to hear, nor was it something that I wanted to do. And he didn't say it to me like that. He showed me signs. It would be signs. I'd be like, what? Okay, God, you tripping, okay? Because he knows those hidden things of our heart, what we want and what we don't want. He knows how to speak in ways that he touches those hidden places. He calls you by name. He calls you by name. Whatever that name is, he calls you by name. It might not be your proper name. It might not be your name that you were given at birth, but it's the name that he has established that he calls you in his communications. It might be daughter. It might be my child. It might be son. It might be my son. It might, whatever it is, it might be a nickname. Whatever it is, it's the language that he uses with you. Just like your parents, when you were born and you were growing up, they had a name that they called you. It's the same way. He has a name that he calls you. He speaks truth to power. He does. If God is calling you to speak truth to power, you don't be just trying to do that. Like most people don't. Most people don't just try to do that. Now, there's some people who always want to have something to say. But most people don't. And when they do it from a place of, I really don't want to do this, but I got to do it. versus, ooh, God said that you need to da 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 da. Back it up. Either that's not God or you're not doing it in the right spirit, so it won't be received. He speaks truth to power. At the end of the day, you guys, this is what I know. God talks to us. God talks to us. It's whether or not we choose to listen to his voice. I choose to listen to his voice. I don't always respond immediately. If I said that, I would be lying. Sometimes me and God have to go rounds for me to do it. Just rounds. We go rounds, okay? Yes, Cassandra. Yes. Trying to run with all haste in the opposite direction, okay? But he always has a way of bringing us right back to that same place so that we have to do what it is that he's told us to do. You all today, this is my prayer for you. My prayer is that you will make a conscious decision to do what it is that God is telling you to do, to hear his voice and obey it. Because your breakthrough, your freedom, your harvest is all in your obedience to the word that God has given you. And in that way, you position yourself to be used as a mighty vessel of God. When Samuel learned how to hear the voice of God through his mentor, his guardian, Eli, the first thing he had to do was give a word that he didn't want to give to the one who he had been entrusted to, the one that he served. You heard the scriptures. He didn't want to say it. Eli told him, tell me what God said and don't leave nothing out. If you leave anything out, I'm going to get you. People who really love God, they want you to tell them whatever you hear God saying as it relates to them. And they don't want you to leave anything out. They're going to encourage you to tell it. They're not going to tell you, oh, you can't talk to me. You can't tell me nothing that God said. Not if they've given you instructions to hear from him and they know that it's him. Eli knew that God was speaking to Samuel. So this is the question Eli had to ask himself. Why is he speaking to Samuel and not me? Why is he, what's going on? What is he telling him? What is he? Well, he had to confirm what he had already spoken to Eli. And let him know, time's up. Time's up. Samuel was that prophet of correction. So God used him early. When he first got started, he had him in that mode of correcting, even as a child. We'll talk about that another time. That's a whole nother message right there. That's a whole nother message, right? But God is looking for some people who will just be obedient. Be obedient and do what it is that he says to do, the way that he says to do it. We have to know how to hear the voice of God and know that he's speaking to us because he loves us. He's so worthy. He's so worthy. Check this out.
In spite of my issues, you still love me. Beyond my frailties, beyond my fear. You see past my transgression. See past all of my shame. Decided to love me have my issues, you still love me. Beyond my frailty, beyond my sin, all the mistakes I made, all the hurt, all the guilt and shame, decided to love me. You love me in spite of me. You took everything that was wrong and gave me beauty. Yes, you did. I thank God for joy. You gave me strength in my weakest moments. And because of you, everything has changed. I can wave back out to my past. Right now, my only desire. I spent my life chasing stuff, but now all I want is you. Yeah. All I need is you. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. As long as I'm with you. As long as I'm with you. I may ask you for a lot, but the truth is, all I want is you.
My God.
Let's go. I don't know what you're going through.
My God, my God, my God. All I want is you. All I want is you. We got to get to the place where all we want is God. We want him more than anything in the world. You all, and when you get to that place, that's exactly where he wants you, because then you'll not only be able to hear his voice, but you'll be able to do what it is that he says do, the way that he says do it. That's the music of Pastor Mike Jr. Pastor Mike Jr., listen, most music that you're going to hear is probably going to be Pastor Mike. Like, I am so into his music, right? He's an independent artist. He just found out that his song, I Got It, is the #1 played gospel album in the world, or gospel song in the world. So he's done this just by following God, not on a major label, not signed to anyone else, but being independent. God has done this for him. It is a prime example of what God will do for you. Listen, in order to make a contribution, in order to sow into Passionate Pursuit, use the Cash App $ Passionate Pursuit or PayPal.me Passionate Pursuit. Give as God leads you to give, right? I love you. Know this. Know that God is excited about what he's doing in this season of your life. And I'm excited for you. Like, if you're not excited, you need to get excited. You need to get excited about that thing, because I'm telling you, God is about to blow your mind. Join us on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our amazing, well, it's what most people would call Bible study, but it's our Let's Get Raw, RAW, all caps and bold, real authentic word and work the word. It's always about working the word. It's always about that application. So we are super excited about what God is doing as we are embracing his word and going to work. And this Wednesday, for the first time, we're actually going to stream live on Facebook, right? We're going to stream live on Facebook. They don't even know it. I'm telling them now too, okay? But we're going to stream live on Facebook so more people can participate and you guys can catch this word, because I promise you, if more people will get real authentic word and work that word that they got, lives will be changed automatically. See, it's one thing that I know. God has called me to a ministry of manifestation, helping people to manifest the things that God has promised them, the things that God has spoken into their life. He's called me to a ministry where your purpose becomes paramount, right? Because if you are not operating and living in the purpose that God created you for, what are you doing? What is the point? Why are you even here? Right? And so we want to make sure that you get connected with your purpose, and then that you get the tools that you need in order to operate in that purpose fully, wholly, and in alignment with God's will, because that's where you get the greatest harvest. That's where you see prosperity show up in your life. That's where you begin to see the favor of God manifested all over your life. That's how you get there. Listen, let me say this to you guys, because I don't want to leave without saying it, right? I need you to hear me, and I need you to hear me clearly. This is not the season to shrink back. This is not that season. This is the season to move forward boldly with the mandate of God on your life. This is the season for you to be bold and courageous. This is the season for you to not allow what other people think or how other people feel to limit your presence. This is not the season to be consumed with pleasing other people. This is the season where you need to be consumed with pleasing the one who created you, the one who knows you, the one who resides inside of you, him. That part right there. Instead of worrying about all that stuff outside of you. No. It's not that season. Because when you do that, what God is going to do is he's going to accelerate your results. I'm a living, breathing example of the accelerated manifestation of the promises of God. It's happening like this all around me. So what can I say? Except I declare and decree that everything that your hands touch prospers. And every place that your feet tread, God has already given you dominion, and you walk on it like you already got dominion. That your worst days are behind you and your best days are ahead of you. That the promises of God concerning your life are yea and amen, which means yes, and let it be so. That every prophetic word sent from the Most High concerning your life must be fulfilled. It must manifest, because his word will not return to him void, but it shall, it will, it must accomplish everything that it is sent forth to accomplish. Today is your day. What are you going to do with it? Listen, it's your girl, Dr. V. And I'm super excited to have had the opportunity to share with you on behalf of Passionate Pursuit of Manifested Purposes Ministries. I tell you, we love you. And we want you to connect. If you want to be a part of Passionate Pursuit, let us know. Say, I want to be a part. I want to join. Membership definitely has its privileges. So if you're interested in becoming a member, say, I want to become a member. Let us know. And myself or one of my team members will reach out to you and show you what your next steps are. Now know this, your steps will always be connected to your purpose. That's what it's about. We're here to birth purpose, not blow me up. So let's get it straight, right? To birth your purpose as it aligns with the mission of the ministry. You guys, let's do it, and let's do it together. I love you guys to life, and life more abundant. Be blessed. Mwah.